Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm in an area called Greenwich in London, or shall I say Royal Greenwich, because there's a lot of royal connections, specifically Tudor connections here in Greenwich. Henry VIII was born here, as well as his two daughters, Mary I and Elizabeth I. It's got a lot of maritime history, and of course Greenwich Mean Time, Meridian, something like that. Let's go and explore. What a beautiful area to just come and relax, have a stroll on a Saturday. You can see Canary Wharf there in the foreground, here in between the Old Royal Naval College. One of the best views in London. And here in front of me you got the Queen's house. This is a former royal residence that was built between 1616 and 1635. It was commissioned by James I, who wanted to build it for his wife Anne of Denmark. And in British architectural history, this is an extremely important building because it was the first consciously constructed classical building. That's a bit of a tongue twister, but the first consciously constructed classical building here in England. In this area you would have had the Palace of Placentia, the Palace of Placentia, which is where Henry VIII was born, as well as his daughters. So Mary I, or Bloody Mary, was born here in 1516, and Elizabeth I was born in 1533. So I mentioned 1516, the year that Mary I was born. The Christmas party of 1516 at the Palace of Placentia was apparently a legendary one. So it was the first time that a masquerade party was held in England. So Henry VIII, also known for his lavish lifestyle and extraordinary parties, had an extraordinary Christmas party that year. And just look at that for a view as well, guys. Absolutely magnificent. So the plan is to walk up there towards the Royal Observatory, and we'll get a very good view of Greenwich, including the one here with the Old Royal Naval College, as well as Canary Wharf behind it. And just a perfect place for a Saturday stroll. Come and take in a bit of London that is actually, I think, still off the beaten trail. So it won't have as many tourists as the usual spots such as Westminster and Oxford Circus, Piccadilly Circus. But what a wonderful place to come and relax and just hang out, and great for plane spotting. Over here as well, here you can see the classical columns. The Queen's house here was erected during the reigns of James I and Charles I, and Charles II actually instructed the Palace of Placentia to be completely demolished. But just look at this as well for a wonderful walk. There's some dogs having a fight. I don't know who will win that fight, a play fight. But talking about fighting, so you had the English Civil War in the 17th century, and during the English Civil War the Palace of Placentia just fell into a lot of disrepair, and I've read that it was actually used as well at one stage as a biscuit factory and a prisoner of war camp. So Charles II in 1660, he wanted to completely demolish the Palace of Placentia, and he did that, but what he didn't do was to build an alternative palace in its place, which was also an aim of him, but he didn't succeed in that, unfortunately. But about 40 years later, the hospital, the Greenwich Hospital, or as it was formerly known, the Seamen's Hospital, was built, which is today the Old Royal Naval College. And we'll get a better view of that from the top. Here you can see Queen's house in front, and you got the Old Royal Naval College, which was formerly the hospital, and you've got Canary Wharf, a financial centre in the back there. And a few more iconic London buildings here as well. So you've got the O2 Arena. So I've read that Sir Christopher Wren, who designed the Greenwich Hospital, or the hospital for seamen at the time, Sir Christopher Wren once said that the view that includes the Greenwich Hospital, that was his favourite view in London. Now I don't know if that refers to the view from this side of a river or from the other side. Certainly Canary Wharf would not have existed in those days. But what a view nonetheless, eh? Either side. I'm sure it would look absolutely brilliant from the other side as well. Today, absolutely one of my favourite views as well. Not just in London, but I think anywhere in the world. And we've made it to the Royal Observatory. This is the point where the Eastern Hemisphere splits from the Western Hemisphere. At the same place here where we got this magnificent view and can do plane spotting. Qatar Airways. Got lots of tourists here. So yeah, the line for the museum was absolutely crazy, but yeah, around the Royal Observatory there's no one. And here you've got another line with two hemispheres, east and west. So I'm in two different hemispheres. That's a pretty cool thing to do. Stand with one foot in the Western Hemisphere and another in the Eastern Hemisphere. So caution, thieves operate in this area. I wonder what they will steal. Time? Sorry, that's just a bad joke. But yeah, all bad jokes aside, you obviously have a Prime Meridian passing here through Greenwich. This is where we got Greenwich Mean Time from, which was the precursor to Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC. So a very significant spot in the world of time here in Greenwich. So right, let's make the way back to town. Going down should be easier than going up. And let's go and explore more of a beautiful town of Greenwich. Hey, hey, doggy. So which way to go? Left? All right, let's go left. Let's head back to town and see if we could get to the Cutty Sark ship, the famous tea clipper, and I'll tell you more about it over there. There are lots of people having an autumn picnic. Now look at all these beautiful black gates with the golden painted tops. And you've got some more information about Greenwich Park, through which we just walked. You can see that's the Royal Observatory we just were, and wider Greenwich over there. Cutty Sark Gardens, Greenwich Pier. We've just stumbled across this big statue of William IV. William IV. And lots of pubs and taverns in the sort of Greenwich name here, Greenwich Tavern.
Greenwich. Yeah.
And National Maritime Museum. We've got the Sterling entrance and some beautiful houses here as well. Colourful doors. University of Greenwich buildings here. And the Cutty Sark in front there, which is our next stop. And always as you walk around London, you just stumble across random parks or places pedestrians can come and relax. But I think this is a private residence, so maybe not for normal tourists like us then. Let's instead take in the architecture over here and the King's Arms. And here's a public park, which is for normal tourists like us. So many green spaces as well to explore in London. Always amazes me. Yes, it's a big city, but if you love beautiful parks and gardens, London is absolutely a place to go. An old Pissoir here in Greenwich for gentlemen, but clearly out of order. Yeah, so that explains the big King William statue we just saw earlier, because you're on the King William Walk up towards Greenwich Park over there. Actually, yeah, that confirms it. Greenwich, King William Walk. And you see we are just over there. We'll go to the Cutty Sark. And here we are, guys, the Cutty Sark. It was launched on the 22nd of November 1869, only 5 days after the Suez Canal opened on the 17th of November 1869. But yes, a famous tea clipper. So what did the tea clippers do? Well, I guess the clue is in the name, tea. They brought back tea from China. In Victorian times, people in England loved their tea, and ships such as the Cutty Sark, the tea clippers, were involved in the tea races. Whoever could bring back tea from China in the fastest time obviously could ask a premium price for their newly imported goods, could make some money. And there you can see it, yes, built 1869 tea clipper, and a magnificent view of it here. And I mentioned the Suez Canal as well, so why is that significant? Well, obviously the Suez Canal shortened the route to China quite significantly through the Mediterranean, but unfortunately for tea clippers such as the Cutty Sark, the Mediterranean was not the optimal route. There were a lot of winds and other geographical factors that made sailing for tea clippers very much unsuitable, but it was more suitable for steamships, who obviously had a big competition as well with tea clippers at the time. The technology in shipbuilding improved and steamships became more prominent, and steamships could go through the Suez Canal no problem. So eventually Cutty Sark and other tea clippers retired from the tea industry or tea importation from China. Instead, the Cutty Sark was subsequently used in the wool trade from Australia. And at one stage, this ship over here held the record for the fastest time between the UK and Australia. Can you guess how long that was? 73 days. 73 days. And as we listen to some beautiful music here as well, I just want to calm down and tell my Australian friends who always complain about how long it takes to travel back to Sydney or to Melbourne. That's just, in a matter of a day you can be there. If you traveled in the days of a Cutty Sark, it would have taken you a lot longer. A few months at sea, my friend. But yes, eventually the Cutty Sark, as I mentioned, got involved in the wool trade from Australia, but it did have some voyages to China and brought back tea. So its maiden voyage to Shanghai was in 1870. It took some British produced wine and beer and other manufactured goods and brought back tea. But yeah, this guy is on full fire today. And here you can get boat tickets if you fancy a river cruise on the River Thames. Fast ferry clippers. Yeah, lots of people embarking and disembarking here at Greenwich Pier. And there's the view of Canary Wharf from closer up. You can also see the Shard over there, and some very expensive residential buildings, and some information here about the foot tunnels. Which presumably go through there. Yeah, and some street markets, outdoor markets here at Greenwich. Some more street musicians here. Merry-go-rounds for kids. And the jewel in the crown, yeah, Cutty Sark. So I mentioned the advancement in shipping that eventually led to the death of the tea clipper, the steamship. But can you imagine what the mode of transport of choice is in Greenwich today? It's the unicorn. Of course, over time you had further developments in transport. Now you can ride on zebra and on unicorn and on horse. Just gotta love technological progress, eh? Just here in the souvenir area. Cutty Sark memorabilia, souvenirs, jelly baby candy.
Gypsy moth?
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask you what is the demonstration here?
It's a Morris dancing.
Okay, it's fantastic. Morris is
English folk dance.
oh, very good.
Two sides or two groups. That's from Croydon.
Okay. Oh, so they're competing against each other or not?
No.
Okay. Okay, so. Okay, yeah. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. So some Morris dancing, as I've just been told here. Morris dancing. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Bravo. Check out this pub with all the flower baskets here, the Spanish Galleon. And a bit more of Greenwich town, slightly away from the tourist trail, but nonetheless still very nice to walk around. You can see there Greenwich Church Street, and this fish and chip shop did catch my eye earlier, Jack the Chipper. So we are here at Turnpin Lane, Greenwich Market. Let's go and check it out. Oh, traditional pie and mash with eels. That doesn't sound really good. Oh, here you go, Greenwich Market. A unit with all the stalls. So here's Greenwich Market. Let's check it out. Life is art. Italian food for sale. Bit of a coffee fix you can get here. Ethiopian food, ramen, sauciology, rare breed hot dogs, brilliant. Street art and street food here. Greenwich Theatre. Some interesting shoes and socks, Halloween themed things for sale here. Clothes, bags, yeah, organic bakery. Wow, if you've got a sweet tooth, this is a place to come. Oysters. And again, very cosmopolitan, worldly place. You've got sushi, Brazilian churros, and great British food as well. Tea, clothes shops as well, donuts and coffee. Halloween, very much a word of the day here in Greenwich. So yeah, what do you think of Greenwich Market? I quite like it. Winter cocktails. Look at this vegan garden. Brazilian snacks. Halloween pumpkins. Even some books. Handmade crafts. Yeah, so just a huge variety of stalls and shops. Clothes. Oh, this looks very interesting. Art from wires. Motorcycles, guitars, and lizards and scorpions. Aircraft and battle tanks here. Some classic photos of London. You can see the old Battersea power station, which I think is now a shopping centre. Mr. Humbug. for some sweets. Look at that Duff beer, like the Simpsons. That's what Homer Simpson drinks. Got Leach vintage. Got all these beautiful coats. And there's a cute sausage dog as well. Doing a bit of shopping here in Greenwich Market. Beautiful clothes. Oh wow, look at this. Neon colours. Tippy bows. Jewellery. Greenwich stuff there. And look at the beautiful roof. You've got another vintage market here in Greenwich. Lots of jewellery and woven goods. Vintage guitars, maps, globes. A lot of variety here as well. I agree, the first wealth is health. Absolutely. Queen Elizabeth, construction of a shard. And yep, it's almost time for Halloween. This one too. And beautiful view here as you exit the vintage market. I see there the name of a church. St. Alfege, is that how you pronounce it? Parish Church? Anglican Parish Church at the heart of Greenwich. Yeah, it's a very beautiful building. And check this out. You actually got 3 phone booths in a row. It's not often you see 3 of these in a row like this. But they look out of order now.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, back at the Greenwich station. So yeah guys, hope you enjoyed this visit to Greenwich. If you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching my videos, and I'll see you again soon.